Today, I'm going to challenge myself to recreate as much of the Elden Ring DLC cinematic as I possibly can. I've always loved video game cinematics, and in my opinion, there's no better way to feel fully immersed than by beating a level and getting rewarded with that little sliver of storytelling and visuals. So as someone who has spent the last 8 years working on music videos and more recently 3D music videos, I want to put my skills to the test and see what one person can do when going up against the work of a AAA studio. Hold your horses though, this isn't going to be a walk in the park. These cinematics can cost up to $1 million per minute to make. I'm only one person with a dusty PC. I'm gonna see what I can pull off in just 1 week. So step number 1 is to look through the trailer and find the scenes that seem the most doable. Now, when I say most doable, I mean scenes without a lot of complex animation, without a lot of cloth or particle simulation, and without, well, whatever this is. So I narrowed it down to about 5 scenes in 1 week. Now I just need to decide between working on the easier scenes first or tackling arguably the most difficult shot, the Mesmer hero scene. I talked it over with my assistant and we decided we need a big win first. So in day 1, we're gonna make the Mesmer 3D character. I like to start by using a character builder first and adjusting sliders just to give me a solid base to work with. Not gonna lie, this was a bit challenging because Souls bosses can have some really weird anatomy. For example, I found this clip of Mesmer without any cloth or armor and good grief, he's naked! So I did my best to recreate this long leg Dorito build. Either way, once I have something passable, I take it into Blender and I do some final sculpting just to hone in the details as best as I can. To save some time, I spent about $14 on some 3D printable armor files, which is going to be a huge time saver. Now I just need to pose, animate, and then I can start creating stuff like hair simulations as well as honing in the lighting. Finally, to finish off the day, I took everything into Substance Painter and I went about creating all of my textures for the helmet as well as for the skin. So after all of that work, here is what we started with and here is what our character is looking like so far. I think the skin is actually looking really good. Just ignore that watermark stock image for now. That's just a placeholder, I promise. Today was all about finishing scene 1 as well as prepping for the rest of our scenes. I started by modeling some of the chainmail armor around his neck as well as creating a cloth simulation for the robe around his shoulders. The last thing we need is a bunch of different fire, smoke, and magic effects. There's a ton of this in the trailer. I've been thinking really hard about how I'm gonna pull this off because anything with millions of particles can be really taxing on your PC. So to save time, I used VDBs, which are essentially lightweight preset simulations. So after making all of the fire, all of the spells, I set everything up in Blender and now finally here is our first finished render. For throwing this together in 2 days, I'm honestly pretty happy with the result. Of course, if you work in VFX, you know it's hard not to obsess and want to make everything 100% perfect, but we don't have a lot of time in this challenge, so I'm gonna rest up and I'll see you in day 3. It's the start of day 3. This next scene we're working on is pretty massive, so hopefully everything goes according to plan. There are so many things that need to go right with this shot. I'm honestly not too confident I can pull it off in just a day, but either way, first I'm gonna give my Mesmer character a new pose and then I'll add in the 3D spear and some extra armor. Finally, I'm gonna bring in some of that preset fire that we made before, and then I just need to spend about an hour posing these guys so that they look like they're free sample skewers at the mall. I even tried to recreate these. Honestly, I don't even know what these are, so if you know the Elden Ring lore, let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, that lasted about 20 minutes before I realized it would be a lost cause. Now I just need to finish the rest of the background, and I thought this was going to be easy, but it ended up being the hardest part of this entire challenge. All right, so we're running into a big issue here. We're getting crashes, flickering. So I think I'm gonna have to split this into 2 and render the second. All right, ignore everything I'm saying here. I'm basically just coping with the fact I'm gonna have to spend all night troubleshooting how to fix this. The best solution I found was to follow this guide of this guy staring into my soul and calling me dumb. All right, all jokes aside, it's a great video for learning render passes to help split up large scenes. I just have to split the layers into separate file outputs, export them as an EXR file, stitch them all back together, and then hope they look like the original. So it is about 3 in the morning. We just need to make sure everything is good by the time we click render. Anything messes up while I'm asleep, it could take another 12 hours plus. So hopefully we're okay. We'll check in tomorrow. All right, moment of truth. It looks like everything rendered okay. I'm gonna throw this in After Effects and we'll see how it turned out. This scene almost made my computer explode. I gained a whole new level of respect for pro compositors. But all in all, I'm still very happy with our result. I'm off about 2 hours of sleep right now, so I'm gonna take a nap and then get to work on the rest of our scenes. It is going to be a long day of editing today. I think it's important just to get outside, try and clear your head a little bit. So this is my morning routine. I usually walk around this lake. So let's get back and get started. So after that all-nighter, I'm ready for a more chill scene to work on. So today we're working on the environments. For this one in particular, I'm gonna block out the terrain first and then use a particle system to distribute grass everywhere. Then it's just a matter of placing down some buildings, quickly modeling this golden cross thing, and then throwing in a bunch of fog to cover up any mistakes. So here's how my first environment turned out. I'm also going to recreate this next scene here, which essentially is more of the same steps, this time a bit more fog and with some water. All in all, each of these environments took me 3 to 4 hours each to make, which is a bit rushed, but honestly, we are rapidly running out of time here. I only have 2 more days. I still need to do all of the post work, all of the color grading for my renders, plus there's one more secret scene I want to work on. In between final editing sessions, I'm gonna work on recreating this shot. The thing that I love the most about 3D is the creative problem solving needed to bring things to life. This scene is a great example for this. We need to make these massive pillars completely out of, well, bodies. Seems impossible, but I'm gonna try it out. First off, I'm going to look at the scene and try and recreate the basic shapes. This should be easy. It's basically in the shape of a low poly boot. Now we can go ahead and use the same distribution trick we used for the grass earlier. Let's go in and add some random rotation. I'll mess with the distribution a bit, and there we go. It kind of looks like mangled raw taco meat, which is pretty gross, but it's also pretty cool. I wanted to keep going further. I put in some fog. I started working on the ground, but unfortunately, we are officially out of time here. So 7 days, multiple crashes, probably too much coffee later. Here's what one person was able to make in that time. Is it perfect? No. Is it exactly like the original? Also no. My goal was never to perfectly match a professional studio. It was to push myself creatively, solve interesting problems, and hopefully inspire you to take on projects that seem impossible. Hands down, the biggest thing I learned in this challenge is the importance of paying attention to the things that you like. And it seems simple enough, but I think that it goes a long way. For example, I grew up as a first-generation American. I have memories of visiting family in Europe and touring these ancient castles. Those are the type of experiences that develop this interest in this fantasy aesthetic, and I think something as simple as that is the key to this. When you're genuinely passionate about something, putting in long hours doesn't feel like work. Every crashed render or technical problem becomes a puzzle that you want to solve because you care about the end result. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a different one from me. For all of you technical people or normal subscribers, I'm going to dive deeper into everything I showed here and give full tutorials, so keep an eye out for that. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a nice day. I'll see you in the next one.